In our reading today, Isaiah says, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and neither shall they learn war any more." Isaiah is given this amazing preview about what is to come in the future. He sees war ending entirely. Actually, they take war equipment and they start turning it into gardening tools. It reminds me of something I once read about what happened after World War II. Everything was discounted. You could buy like a flamethrower for your backyard. "Honey, what are you doing back there?" "Oh, I'm just doing a little bit of weeding." You could also buy tank engines and put them into your tractors. Wow. Love to see a tractor like that. They are also putting these engines into irrigation systems to water the crops and grow food. So here you have this image after World War II where 60, 70 million people were killed, and the world was deeply grieving and mourning these losses. And yet, it was also a time of peace. The world was tired of war. And you see them growing food, trying to put this thing back together. Yet we know it didn't last for very long. War after war began happening after World War II. So it can't be exactly what Isaiah is seeing. He's not seeing the end of World War II. He's seeing something even greater than that. He's seeing the end of all war entirely. Is that even possible? Is it even possible to have world peace? And we live in a time of war. We're all heartbroken to see the news every single day. Missiles just crashing into Ukraine. Originally, it was supposed to be some type of peacekeeping mission. This is not anything related to peace. No, we live in a world that's evil. We live in a world filled with war, destruction, and division and hatred. And so what Isaiah sees is something that rises above all that. He really sees Jesus. He sees the Messiah. He sees Christmas. And so this Advent, we are preparing our hearts to receive Jesus at Christmas time. Of course, Christmas didn't end all war. Wars continued happening after that. So what is Isaiah talking about then? Two things. The first thing he saw was that one day when the Messiah does return, because of course Christmas happened, the cross, the resurrection, the ascension. Jesus goes to heaven. He says, "Hey, I'm going to be back." That day of his return will bring about cosmic peace. It'll be world peace throughout our whole world, throughout the universe. And truly, war equipment will be turned into farming equipment. We look forward to that day. A world without war, a world without end. But Isaiah is also referring to a war that goes much deeper. Not an external reality, but an internal reality. The war that is going on inside of us. You do realize that war would not exist if war didn't first occur in our own hearts. This is where hatred, anger, and division even begin. Jealousy. I want that. I want what you have. That begins in the human heart. And so for war to ultimately end, we've got to be fixed. The war in us has to end. And this is where our church father today comes in, St. Justin the Martyr. He writes, "We ourselves were well acquainted with war, murder and everything evil, but all of us throughout the whole wide earth have traded in our weapons of war. We have exchanged our swords for plowshares, our spears for farm tools, and now we cultivate justice, kindness, faith, and the hope of the future given to us by the crucified one." Justin the Martyr lived in the 2nd century, really close to the time of the apostles. And of course, in his own title, you can hear that he was killed for his faith. He was a martyr. He wasn't a stranger to war. He wasn't a stranger to the sword. He gave his own life up for the Lord Jesus Christ. But he admits something. He says, "Before I knew Jesus, there was a war going on inside of me that needed fixing." And so we turned in our swords, we turned in our hatred for love, for kindness, and they were beat into something that can be used to heal, to garden. I love Lord of the Rings. I love everything about it. And I oftentimes think of how one day the world might become like the Shire. We get to eat, several meals in a day like a good hobbit, singing songs, getting to know each other, a place of peace. And really for Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings, the Shire really does represent this place of peace, this place of what the Jews would call shalom, where everything is right with the world. We all long for that deep. For the Shire to be external, the Shire first has to become part of our hearts, become part of who we are. We've got to become like hobbits. How is this even possible? This is really the heart of what all of these Advent talks are about. The Cosmic Nativity, preparing for the coming of Jesus. The Nativity isn't just a little scene that Grandma gets out and puts on the fire mantle. The Nativity was this event in history when God became man and made his home to be with us. This is what Emmanuel means. It means God with us. And so the Nativity wasn't just about warm, fuzzy feelings and hot chocolate and presents. The Nativity is ultimately about God wanting to make his home here with us. And so our hearts must become a nativity. And once it is, then the whole cosmos will become a cosmic nativity. If you want to stay up to date with our daily reflection videos this Advent for Cosmic Nativity, you can find our reading plan on barrelagedfaith.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, all of our social media pages. Maybe this is where you're experiencing this video right now. I'll see you tomorrow for our next reflection. Thanks and stay tuned. God bless. Goodbye.